For today's video, my goal is to give you a simple, easy to follow tutorial on the equipment as well as the wiring that you need in order to set up a dual battery system in your overland rig, maybe your van that you travel in, or your off-grid cabin. Now, my goal here is to cut out a lot of the electrical minutia because you don't necessarily need to fully understand it in order to set the system up. I have a 2012 Jeep Wrangler JK that I explore the Sierra Nevada with. And I have been a champion of portable battery systems, and specifically have been using a 500 watt Bluetti portable battery in the back of my Jeep. Now, this has served me well, and I'm still a huge fan of portable batteries just because of the convenience of having the inverter and the battery all built into one. But I finally got to the point where the number of devices that I needed to charge in the back of the Jeep exceeded the capacity of the battery that I had. And what I came to find after doing research is I can fit something like this 100 amp or about 1200 watt battery in the same space that I can fit my 500 watt Bluetti. All right, so instead of showing you guys some overly complicated schematic that quite frankly I probably wouldn't understand, I visually laid everything out and taped the connections together with some 10 gauge wire I had laying around just to show you how everything interconnects. So before we even get into the diagram, let's just talk about the wire gauge that we're gonna use. Now, there's a nice little chart you can find online here which will show the cable length, the maximum current expected, and then what gauge you should reference. What I chose to use, and I got this on Amazon, I think it was about $40, is marine grade 8 gauge wire. I think this is about 30 feet of it. But why I bought it is because it is nice stranded copper here, and it is in a jacket. Again, because marine grade has this waterproofing jacket around it, but what this really helps for is when I run this all the way to the back of the Jeep, I'm not gonna be worried about getting nicks and things like that as I'm running it underneath the trim. So really excited to use this on this install. For the inverter itself, it actually came with this 4 gauge wire with the terminals already connected here. So really the guesswork's taken out. This is the cable that you're gonna use in between the inverter and the battery here. You'll see I use painter tape to make all these connections. You may have guessed it, that's not actually what you want to use for your setup. So I went on Amazon and just got some high quality copper terminals here, which we'll use to actually make all of these connections when it comes time. It also comes with some heat shrink to make around the connections, which is awesome. And by the way, all this stuff is linked in the description below, so you can see exactly the products that I use for this setup. Talking about this from maybe an academic perspective, we'll just walk through the flow of electrons from the source, which is the starter battery or alternator in my case, or obviously if you're using a solar type setup, then that would be your source of energy. So as we move here to the DC to DC charger, you'll see Renogy has pre-labeled 2 of these wires with a DC input positive as well as ground. This is going to connect to your starter battery. But very important, we must use a fuse or a circuit breaker on this connection. And the size that you need, or the rating rather, this being 60 amp, will vary based on whatever the expected output is of your DC to DC charger. Once again, you don't have to figure this out yourself. Your manual should tell you exactly what fuse to use, and Renogy tells me to use a 60 amp. Now, I am a big fan of these inline circuit breakers because A, if it may be tripped due to a momentary overtemp or something, you can just reset it and then you're good to go. And also, this can act as a battery isolator. So in case you're gonna store your vehicle for a while or you just don't want the system in operation, you just push this button and it basically shuts the whole thing off until you're once again ready to use it. But very important, must use a circuit breaker on this connection. All right, energy flows into the DC to DC charger. It gets calculated here. It's use your battery chemistry that you set. Again, mine's a lithium ion phosphate, and then sends it out to the output here. The output is labeled in this case with a output plus little stamp here on the wire. And again, it's a yellow connection, and then you'll make the requisite ground. Now this is gonna flow all the way into your battery. As we talked about before, we want the connection between here and your auxiliary battery to be as short as possible. This will just help reduce the voltage loss due to the increased length of cable. Once it is connected to your battery, now we just have to power our inverter. As I said, Renogy in this case actually provides the 4 gauge cable that we need to make these 2 connections, but you're gonna reference whatever your manual says. We will literally just connect it to the same post, the positive and the negative, and then run it into the inverter's positive and negative here. Now, once again, important, you must use a fuse between the inverter and the battery. Just referencing the manual, it says that I need to use a 100 amp circuit breaker. So 100 amp circuit breaker is what I used here. Again, another inline fuse version, and we'll make these 2 connections right into the inverter. Now, last couple things with this battery charger specifically is, again, it can take a solar input, and you'll use the blue positive and the other black ground in order to wire that in. And then if you have a smart alternator, generally on vehicles that were built in 2015 or later, you're going to want to connect this accessory cable to an ignition source to help the charger figure out when the vehicle is on and when it is off. With all that out of the way, let's start getting it installed.
This is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those new shoes, and you can rock and roll with an attitude. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it. You're the new MC, you got the remix. Keep it on repeat, just let the beat kick. Everywhere you go, you bring the roof down. Everybody knows you got your own sound. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it. This is a shakedown. Just the way you like it. So good, so fresh. Yeah, you like it, the way you like it. Oh, yeah, you like it, the way you like it now. Yeah, you like it, the way you like it. Oh, so good, so fresh. Get up on your feet.
All right, just looking at the wiring, I actually decided to add a wire loom just because I had plenty of it, and I just think it looks better than the white cable. So it's essentially double protected here. The circuit breaker, I literally just zip tied for now to the solenoid that I have for my winch. I'll probably try to figure out a better solution here long term, but nice and secure. You'll see I ran the positive right into the terminal here, and then the negative is also loomed up on this side of the battery. So I was able to fish this all the way through. Wire came right down here and then follows this trim piece here, taking it to my back seat. In the back here, the cable then runs underneath the trim, under the carpet, and then comes out right underneath here. So you'll see I mounted the battery charger just underneath the seat. I have probably 6 inches, maybe 8 inches of space between the carpet and the battery charger itself. And then all the cable back here, I loomed. Once again, not necessary. I just felt like doing it because I had it. I got super lucky, and there's actually enough gap in between the seat and the carpet where it's not pinching the cable, but I was able to run the cable basically straight back. All right, moving this seat out of the way, you'll see I have the battery box situated here, which fits just perfect in the back of the Jeep, and it'll be sitting right next to my fridge on this fridge slide here. So the inverter itself, I actually ended up cutting my own holes on the sides of the posts. This just allows the cables to cross, and it just gave a little bit of room so that the back of the seat is not resting against these cables when it is in the closed position here. You'll see I actually wired this thing in called a shunt, and I didn't really show it in the footage because this is going to be a whole separate video. This is basically just a battery management system. It changed the wiring up a little bit from the diagram, but again, outside the scope of this video, so just kind of ignore that for now. I have a couple wires associated with the shunt, and then this thing basically will sticky here just up to this box to stay out of the way. And then lastly, you'll see the positive and the negative from the battery charger coming up from under the seat right here, and then going right into the box. This thing is nice and sturdy, not going to jiggle around or vibrate or anything. And again, the inverter is mounted perfectly so that I can have access to the power outlet, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that on the other side. All right, so the other side here, again, you'll see I have basically just the one AC outlet, which generally you'd like to have more, obviously, but I found a really good solution in order to make use of it. So I have this cool thing here. Basically, it's just a little pop-out panel, and I added this cable stopper here, and eventually I'll have probably a bunch of cables just sitting just like this in order to plug in devices. What I did was got this Anchor power strip, so it has 6 AC outlets. It also has 2 by USB-C and 2 by USB-A. This is just going to live down here like so, and then I'm going to run just the one low profile plug into the inverter, and then this pop-up panel will be able to fit right back in for a totally seamless installation here. All right, with that out of the way, I'm going to push the circuit breaker in for the battery charger, start the Jeep up, and we'll see how all this works.